Hey, nonprofit fundraisers, and welcome to the first episode of 2025. Welcome to This Week in Crypto Philanthropy Season 2. Pietro, good to see you again.
Great to be back. Season two, we're kicking it off with a bang. Very excited, and hope everybody had a restful end of the year, ready to jumpstart your 2025 and do it all over again.
Yeah, 2024 seemed like it ended on a bang, which is what we were hoping for. And everybody seems really energized about things that are coming in 2025. So, yeah, couldn't be more excited. As far as what we're going to be talking about today, first thing that we wanted to hit on was the emergency response fund that we've set up for the LA wildfires. We'll talk about that in a second. We'll go through a little bit of a 2024 recap. We're still crunching some of the numbers, but we just wanted to bring a few data points. We'll be going into some of this detail, on future episodes. So just wanted to give a few things to the audience. We'll go through some good donor appeals and things that nonprofits are doing that have been capturing a lot of attention. So some nice practical tips there. And then one last thing at the end. So with that, let me jump right in. We're still doing the $500 in Bitcoin when you get started with the giving block. So scan the code, kickstart your fundraising journey with us. And with that, why don't we shift gears to one of the biggest things that we're working on right now? And as usual, Pietro, the crypto community has rallied for a cause. So, um, you know, we've been seeing a lot of great engagement from the crypto community. Everybody can see here on the screen a number of organizations that are on the ground. If you're listening to this and you are an organization in that area and you want to get connected with our team for inclusion into the emergency response fund, reach out to our team. Let us know. We'll put links in the show notes to do that. We've got a $2 million goal. We've raised about $500,000 so far, and donations are matched through the end of the month. And of course, Pietro, our boss, is also doing a match as well on the Shift 4 side.
He is, yeah. A huge shout out to Jared Isaacman, our CEO and founder, for really putting his money where his mouth is and trying to help out. Obviously, we wish everybody in the LA area well and hope everybody's safe and kind of recuperating where they can. One of the things I just wanted to highlight here is like we never obviously hope for disasters or anything to happen, but it does somewhat showcase that when you want to mobilize aid and get funds to the places that desperately need them in a quick amount of time, it really does highlight some of the things that crypto can do in terms of money moving at the speed of light and really just helping airdrop some of those folks some much needed assistance and aid. So obviously it's a tragedy what's going on in LA. We really hope that everybody is safe, and we have some really great partners who are helping with the effort to kind of get everybody back to normal, even though that's going to be a long journey. We're super thankful and appreciative of their partnership on all that.
Yeah, thanks again to our CEO Jared Isaacman and the entire Shift 4 team for getting the message out there far and wide. And couldn't agree more in terms of just getting much needed support. And especially in these times, right? Like I said, like cash is king, and if you can beam your cash for much needed supplies, shelter, food, clothing, it's great that these real world use cases for crypto are very apparent, at times when it's needed most. So if anybody is interested in donating, we'll put a link to our emergency response fund. Check us out on socials. We've been really vocal about that. And of course, if you are an organization or know an organization that is doing a lot of work on the ground, we want to get connected with them as fast as possible. So let us know there. So moving along. So the 2024 recap, a banner year. We set out at the start of last year's giving season with a goal of raising $200 million in crypto donations all time. We passed that goal. So to be at 204,000 is just such a huge achievement, but probably more significantly than just that, somewhat psychologically satisfying number are the numbers actually at the bottom of the screen of what that actually translates into. And I think that's what gets donors so excited in the space of seeing what, this generosity has led to. So, yeah, Pietro, would love to maybe kind of get your initial take on this.
Yeah, not to be nitpicky, just want to double down 200 million, not 200,000, because we shoot for the moon, and definitely want to emphasize on that number. I mean, $200 million all time for the Giving Block is such a great milestone. It's been an unbelievable journey, but I think, like you said, the nominal value of the money itself is one stat to look at, but like when you talk about the impact and the statements that some of our nonprofit partners are making and the actual efficacy of this work, I mean, it's unbelievable to think that almost 1 million children have been fed off the back of crypto donations, and to think that, it's making a material difference in people's lives who need it the most. I mean, like, there is no more rewarding kind of scope of work in terms of what you can be doing. So, I mean, really, really thrilled and honestly honored and humbled to be a part of that. And now, I mean, it just lets us set our sights for even more eye-popping numbers, 500 million. Now we're talking maybe 1 billion soon enough, right? Like, that's pretty incredible for, I would say, such a nascent community. I mean, charity and giving back has always been something that folks have taken seriously since, I'd say, the beginning of time. But to think that this new technology is just enabling a whole other, giving avenue is, I mean, it's incredible, right? I don't really have much more to say than that, except that we're super thankful to the communities that have participated in this journey with us. And obviously, the real heroes here are the nonprofits that are doing the real work and putting that money to good use. I mean, pretty unbelievable stuff. I'd love to get your take on I'd say just like where you see, this number being like impactful to you, but also like where you see us taking this for 2025 now that it's a new year and we can think ahead towards new goals.
Yeah, I'd say, the 2024 was such an incredible, opportunity, and the crypto community, as always, was extremely generous. And I'd say the thing that, from where I sit, donor enthusiasm, is really high, and I think will continue to be so in 2025. With such, large outsized gains that, people have had, they like supporting these causes, and who wouldn't get jazzed and enthused about the ability to, support a cause that they care about, with even more gusto. And, for me this year, I was taking some time to support some areas like medical research. And
Hmm.
it's phenomenal at what fractional units of cryptocurrency goes to fund hours of much needed medical research or any of these stats here. So for anybody that's in the space, it's just super cool, super enthusiastic to know that, especially when organizations showcase what impact this drives. We'll actually talk about, we'll look at some real world examples here later in the call.
Hmm.
That I think is what just gives everybody such excitement to be in the space and do more in the space. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and a quick fast follow to that, because I know we have sort of the luxury of taking the 10,000 foot view with the new year, very optimistic looking ahead. Like, I want to get your sense, because you talk to a lot of our nonprofit partners every day. And do you feel like, especially for folks who are maybe still, either newer to the show or newer to crypto as an asset class, like, do you feel like we're still scratching the surface? Like, where do you think we are in the, I would say, like, maturation process of crypto being an embedded part of the greater philanthropy conversation? I would love to get your take on that. And like, I have a guess, but like, when you think about, credit cards or other things that have been a form factor people have been using for, I guess, a fairly long time at this point, like, where do you think crypto is relative to those things? Like, is there still a lot of meat on the bone? Like, obviously, I'm a bit biased to say yes, but like, how do you frame that in looking at 2025 potentially being an even bigger year than 2024? Bitcoin's at 100K. Folks are still really looking at, how to wrap their hands around crypto philanthropy in general.
Yeah. 2025 just seems like there's such renewed optimism with a lot of really concrete, tailwinds, a lot fewer headwinds than what we've experienced in past years. So whether it's on the traditional side, with the expansion of more of these, compliant, regulated, digital asset products that has been going into more and more portfolios. In fact, we'll touch on a couple things here in the next couple slides. Like, I think that we have just scratched the surface. I think these are like early innings. We always say in crypto, like, we're so early.
Yeah,
In crypto philanthropy, we're even earlier. But I think this will probably be one of the biggest leap forwards. I think 2025 could has the potential of being very significant in the crypto philanthropy industry. Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah. So here's kind of how things shook out. And not unsurprisingly, right, Bitcoin dominating in terms of the assets that were donated, across the spectrum here. Like, ETH was something that's always been, kind of moving like second, third place. We saw a big run up with XRP recently, and shout out to the folks at Ripple. They donated a huge $100,000 donation to those being impacted out in LA. We really value our crypto partners in the ecosystem, and of course, Circle USDC. Also here on the list, that team also with some great philanthropic involvement as well. But across the spectrum here, Bitcoin is by far and away continues to be the biggest leader, and significant donations coming from all of these communities. You can see at the bottom here the cause areas too. Again, we'll break this out into some more granularity on future episodes, but education, health and medicine, animals, like the meme coin community with animals was
Yeah.
off the charts this year. But yeah, Pietro, flip it over to you for your thoughts.
I mean, yeah, not to take the like sort of finance approach to digesting this data, but it kind of makes sense, right? Like Bitcoin's been king in crypto for as long as it's been around, and you've seen certain assets become in vogue and then maybe fade and then come back. Solana's had like an epic comeback in 2024 and 2023, and I think what we notice is like there's always fads, there are always things that come and go, but you're going to see a lot of these sort of entrenched leaders and folks who have, I would say, as a community, a bit of a like they have a process and a thoughtful plan for how they want to give back as a community, or at least they're reinforcing it as a part of the community's behavior, which I love to see. It's kind of becoming like, you know, corporate social responsibility almost, but from these like decentralized communities, which is a really interesting idea to wrap your head around. That being said, though, like, these things kind of stand out, especially when you think about like the market caps of all these assets, right? The biggest typically have the largest amount of holders and or, the largest amount of upside for folks looking for that sort of tax advantage gift status. All that to say, though, like, we're very open and willing to talk to new communities, and it's always really cool to see what the next like kind of hot thing in crypto is going to be. And we sort of have a little bit of inside baseball on seeing like what's up and coming, where folks actually doing business on chain. And so we want to shout out everybody that's also not in the top five, I would say, because that is also like a really important area in which you're seeing things like different meme coins. Bonk we had on the show. We have a bunch of other friends in the industry that are doing the most. And it doesn't matter like the market cap of your coin necessarily. What really matters, I think, is just the willingness to give back and be charitable. And so whether it's a gift large and small, super appreciative of all those folks. But again, not surprised by the list. And like you said with Ripple, right, they're giving large kind of corporate style gifts, and that's an interesting trend to monitor as some of these coin related communities and or businesses start to jump into the mix and say, hey, like, we've actually been the recipient of some of this upside that we've seen in the past year. Like, let's put it to work and do something good with it.
Yeah, and we're seeing a lot of interesting things that started to happen in I'd say in the last couple of years, where we certainly, when I talk to organizations, the overwhelming majority are looking to get into crypto for the charitable donation kind of aspect. Some are, I'd say a very small minority, are interested in holding some assets. Some are interested in building crypto funds that allow them to improve their financial position and be able to sustain support for the long term. But for international aid organizations, like stablecoins have become really interesting in terms of like deploying much needed assets into jurisdictions where the traditional financial rails are just broken or are very hard to move through. So it'll be really interesting to see how 2025 and beyond start to see a blending of these crypto assets into actual like direct operations.
Totally.
But yeah, really cool.
I mean, that's an awesome shout. And it's funny because like I think sometimes I offer more of like the crypto side of the industry color commentary, and you're doing exactly that there, which I love to see. Like stablecoins is a great shout. I mean, a huge unlock, I think, for organizations both in the nonprofit sector and what I see on my side of the house in terms of like general payments. You know, what we've been talking about, and we mentioned this on one episode of the show, we're doing, or Shift4 is launching a pay with crypto product. Like the amount of enthusiasm for stable coins, which are just, digital representation of a dollar on a blockchain, the ability to move seamlessly, fluidly through, jurisdictions to move money to get it to that last mile where folks need it, especially in the charitable context. I think it's an underrepresented or underreported phenomenon and unlock for some organizations because when disaster strikes or folks need help somewhere, it's not like you have the luxury of picking and choosing what banking system or infrastructure environment that they're living in, right? You just have to do the work where it needs doing. And so we're seeing a lot of that on the payment side, but also for the deployment of real assets into, corridors that, like you said, are underserved. I think that's going to be one of the big, maybe trends to follow, and hard to say how that plays out if it's this year or next year, but definitely, very bullish on that. I think you're spot on.
Yeah, and we'll see if we have some guests on future episodes that might be speaking to that. So yeah, stay tuned. So looking at the week real quick, we'll kind of run through some of the things that we're seeing. And I mean, I should say before this last week, I mean, the start of January was really strong, and over this last week, not unsurprisingly, there's been a huge focus on the LA wildfire relief. Certainly, there's a lot of other donations that are taking place as well, but probably more significantly, this kind of comes back to a point that we were just talking about, a few minutes ago. We're seeing a big shift in the industry, and especially from the traditional space. If you look at this sort of little overlay I've kind of put there from Bitwise, crypto, financial institution in the industry. They did a survey of financial advisors. They do one every year. It's a really comprehensive survey and some really interesting stats. And probably, I know it might be a little bit hard to read, but client allocations to crypto have doubled in 2024. Advisors who haven't yet invested are more than twice as likely to do so this year. And probably the biggest one is that 96% of advisors have received questions from clients about crypto last year. So how this changes and how this might be a really big ingredient for a big expansion in 2025. I think it's all of these things that will go to make this year potentially a really significant change. I don't know, Pietro, I'd love to get your thoughts.
Yeah, I actually want to pose it back as a question to you because I want to get your sort of informed, like nonprofit take on this side too. Because like when we think, and I'm thinking maybe thematically, first episode of season 2, top of the year. I know a lot of stuff that you've kind of educated me on in terms of the nonprofit like cycle of end of year being a big time for folks to give back. A lot of folks from the tax side know what they owe. That's a huge, November, December push. And then you come and say like January is super strong. Is that an anomaly, or do you think that's like something of a like secular trend in crypto just being bigger than it was this time last year? And yes, even though, November, December was huge, it's just compounding that growth. And like when you say almost 100% of financial advisors are getting questions from folks, like it doesn't sound like a trend that's slowing down. So wanted to get your take on like, January maybe isn't the most intuitive time to hear about a large like push in donations, but the data is saying that that's not true this year. So like curious to get your take on that.
Yeah, so much like some years past where the markets really improved and we saw like January surprised us. I think this is another one of those years. There's always a little bit of like there's a few things that are at play, and one, for the most part, right, everybody's got that big year end push, and certain nonprofits have different kind of concentrations of when donors give. There's a lot of variety that's in the industry. Sometimes people are giving across a couple different tax years, and here with Bitcoin's back reclaimed 100,000 today. Sometimes you have donors that are have certain positions and assets, and they want to take care of both tax years. Because of what's unique to them. So there's a wide variety of things, but yes, I think long term though, there's a few things that are setting this year up to be different than years past. Not
Mhm.
just the market trajectory and how we're continuing to be at a very elevated level, but like what I wrote here on that other bullet point as well, we had the ETFs that have just turned a year old that now
Mhm.
triggers long-term capital gains. I think we'll see a lot of stock donations come in from the, you know, billions that have been invested in that asset class. So aside from the underlying asset, how many folks in the space just called up their financial advisor when they had, or even just took that action, unilaterally. I think one of the other data points from the survey, and I may get it wrong. If anybody has a question, I had put a great social media post about this. I have some of the main stats from Bitwise's survey, but I think the stat was something around 70% of investors are investing in this space outside of the advisor relationship. So people aren't
Interesting.
necessarily waiting to talk to their advisor. There's certainly a lot of people that are asking questions, but people are also taking that action independently. So what we always tell nonprofits is everybody's always surprised at how much crypto or crypto adjacent investments are in their network. They've just never asked the question, or donors just haven't even been aware that it's even an option.
Mhm.
So I think a lot of great headwinds for this year, and 2025 is going to be a really unique time for nonprofits. And we've certainly been feeling a lot of questions from nonprofits saying, hey, now that the year end rush is over,
Right.
we need to start taking a look at this.
Yeah. And if anybody, if investors are anything like me, sometimes those November, December priorities turn into January resolutions. So like maybe now's the time where you're like, okay, I'm going to learn about that crypto thing now that I've finished out the holidays and have a little bit of time to breathe here. So that would make sense too. But not an expert in human psychology, but it just makes sense. Sometimes you're like, I put 24 in the books, and now it's time to think about the year ahead, and maybe that's a part of their process.
I think that's a very good take too. Absolutely. so let's move on. So donor appeals. I mean, this is one of those things where, all right, we've been talking a lot about um, how people are engaging with donors and getting people excited. Throughout the year, we're always highlighting organizations that are doing a really great job, and these are three really unique takes. And what we have here, with these three organizations is a few different ways that people have made some really smart social posts to their donors, to the crypto community, that's gotten them really fired up. Friends of Bonobos with a great kind of like post along with a video kind of showing, their work and, highlighting that there's a match available.
Mhm.
Stop Texas Suicides with a great kind of like call to action and some of the services that are provided when you make a donation in this asset. And probably on the coolest one that I've certainly seen by far, maybe there's some others out there, we'd love to see them. The Water Project has this great calculator on their page that kind of has that slider that you see kind of in the middle there. It shows as you sort of change that unit of cryptocurrency how many people that helps. And man, was that like a really cool visual tool to give people a sense for, wow, if I'm donating this fractional amount, look at the impact that I can drive. Pietro, what do you think about that?
I think these are really awesome. I mean, that whole calculator is like, talk about a way to gamify the donation experience from like, oh man, like 10,000 looks a lot better than 9,000 type thing. So like really, really good job on that. I mean, from the psychology standpoint, I know I'd be incentivized to give more just because I'm like, let's shift the slider out to the right a little bit. I mean, I'm going to be leading the witness on this a little bit, Nick, but like, I know you have some of that data, kind of on your side, but like, I've also seen just because whenever you scroll through those hashtags, you see who's posting, crypto for good or tagging the giving block and stuff like that. I mean, it feels like relative to some of the other social media posts that folks put out, these also tend to perform pretty well. And so like, I think that's a really cool way also to just kind of, juice up your social media strategy for folks that are looking at that. I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert in posting on Twitter, but I do feel like if you just kind of scroll through folks' timelines, it's like whenever they're tweeting about crypto, they're getting a lot of love from the community, and that can also kind of help amplify that messaging because we're all beholden to the algorithms on Twitter, Facebook, etc. So like it's always a nice way, I think, to juice up your numbers and get some more attention from what is a really competitive space in terms of mind share, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a great community that we're privileged to, operate in, and we're so fortunate that we can kind of be one of the big standard bearers for crypto for good, just in general. So yeah, if you're in the space, yeah, make sure to let our team know, tag us so that we can help amplify that message and send it out even farther. It's certainly one of the cool things that some nonprofits get to experience, where they're starting to branch out from maybe their some of their traditional areas of support, and how this has gotten them exposure to a whole new set of donors that might be in a completely different part of the country, outside of their traditional communication that's maybe been more regionalized. Now it's getting broader reach and broader visibility. That's great. That's absolutely what we want to have happen. And so if anybody has questions on um, what some of those best practices are. If you're a client of the Giving Block, we've got some great tools that are ready for you. But if you're new to this, this is one of those things that just comes with the territory. So it's great that you're able to engage with donors in this community. But the sort of magic here, and some of our experts are phenomenal in helping nonprofits amplify that message and get it out in the best possible way. So yeah, these are some great examples. We'll showcase more. We also have written a blog post that we published today. It's on social, so if you want to see more of these and a little bit more detail into what they did and impact and some numbers like that, check out. We'll put a link in the show notes to check out that blog. And with that, to kind of wrap things up, one last thing. Every year, the Giving Block puts out what I describe as the industry's definitive report on crypto philanthropy. We are working on our 2025 annual report now. It'll be coming out soon. So if you want to reserve your copy, get it delivered right to the top of your inbox as soon as it's ready to go, we'll put a link to join the waitlist so you can add your email in there. So you'll be the first to receive it when it comes off the presses. So yeah, Pietro, I'll turn it over to you to kind of bring us home for this week.
I was going to say, nothing wrong with finishing up on a special topic. I've been always super impressed with the Giving Block the team on your side, just putting together what is, I mean, I think you describe it perfectly. I mean, it's super comprehensive. I've read the last couple of years of reports ever since I've been, in the orbit of the Giving Block and Shift 4. And I have to say, like, what an amazing way to take, effectively even this podcast, right? You have a year's worth of content and then so much more that we can't even cover in the 30 minutes or 25 minutes that we do the show, and just put it into digestible bits that folks can then share with their colleagues, but also just for like continuing education. I always find it extremely insightful and helpful for myself because, as much as we're involved with this, like not even we can catch the whole, scope of what's going on. So super pumped about that. The folks on the team that write it are always, really great about incorporating like great graphics. And obviously, I'm a sucker for a good graph and a good, positive metrics kind of deep dive. So really stoked about it. I would say, like, just in summary, thanks for everybody kind of tuning in top of the year for season 2. I think, just to talk about the future for a quick second, we're really pumped to bring you more guests, more opportunities to just dive deep on crypto philanthropy, just see where crypto is interfacing with the worlds of, philanthropy, finance, and just daily kind of investing, and just monitor some of the great wins and accomplishments of this industry. So appreciate everybody who was here for season 1. We're really excited for the next kind of iteration of how we build this out. And, I mean, yeah, Nick, I'll actually give you the final word, but just pumped for what looks to be an incredible year, and super excited to see, with everything that's going on, even in the first couple of weeks here, it looks like we're gonna have our hands full. So why don't you take us home?
Yep. we've got a lot of great guests in the queue. If you're a nonprofit out there that would like to come onto the show and talk about what you're doing in the space, we'd love to have you. So we'll put some links to also get in touch with us. But yeah, we have some great future episodes, some great nonprofits that are lined up to talk exactly of what made 2024 great, what is making them really excited for 2025. So couldn't be more excited to start off this year. Thanks everybody for joining, and we'll see you next time.